Welcome to another episode of SPL Express. What a weekend we've had in the Singapore Premier League with the title race being wrapped up and the top three teams in the league being determined. But the race for the fourth place remains as tight as ever. Let's dive straight into it by looking at the results over the weekend. Albirex Niigata beat the Lion City Sailors 4-2 to wrestle the SPL crown back from the Sailors. And what a way to do it at their opponent's home ground. Tampines Rovers meanwhile secured third place after beating Hougang United 4-1. Young Lions staged an encouraging comeback to steal a point against Balestier Khalsa, and nine-man Geylang International also left it late, snatching a draw against Tanjong Pagar in a 6-goal thriller at our Tampines hub. So confirmation of the top three teams in the SPL this season. Albirex Niigata 2022 Singapore Premier League champions ahead of the Lion City Sailors and Tampines Rovers. But there's still all to play for Tanjong Pagar, Geylang and Hougang. Just 4 points separate the three teams with 2 games to go. So here's a look at the penultimate weekend in the SPL. Tanjong Pagar will be looking to extend their unbeaten run to 5 games when they face a wounded Lion City Sailors. Geylang International, meanwhile, are away at Balestier Khalsa in search of their first win in 4 matches. Tampines Rovers and Albirex Niigata face off in a battle of the 2 most informed teams in the league on Saturday, while the Young Lions host Hougang United. Well, we have Roshan here to discuss those games. Roshan, let's dive straight into that Tanjong Pagar versus Lion City Sailors game. Is this the opportune time for Tanjong Pagar to face the Sailors?
Yes, I would think so. Lion City Sailors, would have taken a big hit to their confidence, losing out on the title. 4 matches, losing run now for the Sailors, first time in club history for them. On terrible run of form coming into this. Whereas for Tanjong Pagar United, as you mentioned, unbeaten in the last 4, could extend it to 5, 2 wins and 2 draws. In the last few weeks in the SPL, and I think it's very important for Tanjong Pagar to go into this game with that mentality and that mindset of trying to want to finish the season as strongly as they possibly can and try and seal that top 4 spot, because that would mean a lot to this club, which a lot of us expected to finish, in the bottom half of the table and the bottom half of the standing. So I think it's important for them to go and put out their best foot forward and take the game to the Sailors. Having said that, this has been a game which the Sailors have won comfortably over the last 3 occasions in the league. The Sailors have scored 19 goals, conceded just 1, kept 2 clean sheets against Tanjong Pagar so far. So in the recent history, in recent times of this one, Tanjong Pagar have tended to sort of just let Lion City Sailors roll over them. Hopefully we get a bit of a fight here, and if Tanjong Pagar can pick up a win somehow, it will also be the club's first win over the Lion City Sailors since they came back into the league in 2020.
We like to talk about styles of football and styles of play here. Tanjong Pagar, is this the perfect time to play a Sailors side, considering the fact that these guys, they know how to win games or grind out results?
You're referring to Tanjong Pagar? Yeah, they've been scoring goals, and which is great to see from this side.
As you mentioned, they're unbeaten in the last 4. What's been the most impressive about the Jaguar side so far?
I guess the fact that they've shown quite good fighting spirit in some of those games. The negative of it is that they have been conceding opportunities and they have been conceding goals as well, but there's been good sort of grittiness in this side. The players who are in form, the likes of Rishuto is on a really good run of goal scoring form at the moment. I think it's 4 goals in his last 5 matches. So he's playing really well. Nishiguchi scored 26 for the season now. So they have these players in those key positions that can help them with that physicality. We saw they can always be a threat in those set pieces. They scored 3 goals from headers against Geylang in the last game. So that's always going to be something that they can use to try and hurt this Lion City Sailors side. For the Sailors, I think from their perspective, it's so important for them to get out of this rut. Yes, the title is gone. Yes, second place is secure. And there has this tendency perhaps to sort of just lose that momentum as well, which you could argue they've already lost, because there's a Singapore Cup competition coming up as well, and that's something that they want to go and do well in. And I think it's really important, really crucial for the momentum of the team, for the confidence of the team, to go out and really try and end the season strongly and pick up wins in the next 2 matches.
Let's talk about another team who still have a lot to play for. Geylang, they face Balestier. Geylang come into this game with a couple of issues with their squad.
Yeah.
How are they going to approach this game?
Well, they already don't have the biggest of squads in the SPL in terms of quality that Noor Ali can call upon. So he's essentially got like 13, maybe 14 players that he really sort of trusts to go out week in, week out as his strongest side. And when you look back at the other game that they played against Tanjong Pagar, they lost Zaiful Nizam to an injury. We're waiting to hear on the severity of that, whether he's going to be missing from this game. Zuzul also had to leave the pitch through injury. Huzaifa is going to be suspended after picking up a red card. So those are three important players. That's essentially three players from the spine of that side, especially Zuzul up front. You know, you take away his quality, his ability to hold on to the ball and to sort of stretch the pitch for some of his other teammates. And him playing up front, and I think doing that, pinning central defenders and running to the channels, has kind of freed up space for another player, Vincent Bezekor, to actually get some joy in recent months.
Let's talk about Bezekor, because we've spoken about him and how he's improved over the season, and he seems to be growing from strength to strength as the games progress.
Yep.
What do you think has been the biggest change for him, or what has sparked this spike in form?
I think a lot of it has got to do with confidence. I think he feels fully comfortable as well in the league and knows that he's got a lot of quality and a lot that he can contribute. And he has been contributing. And to be fair to him, even in the earlier stages of the campaign, and I've said this before, I thought he was a player who worked very hard for the team. And I thought he would get himself in some really good positions. He just wouldn't be able to finish off those chances or create those assists. Since the second half of the campaign, I would say second half of the campaign or so, he's been brilliant. He's been on absolute fire for this Geylang side. And I said, you know, the understanding between him and Zuzul as well, you know, that's taken a little bit of time to sort of get going. It's something that, you know, we can be a little bit impatient with, you know, giving players that time to come in and really make an impact. And I think especially for foreign players, for foreign signings, it's so important for them to actually come in and make an impact straight away. So they're we sort of almost have different expectations of them because of how important they are in the league and to the teams in the league. So for Bezekor to now be contributing with the goals and assists, I know Noor Ali is absolutely delighted with his contribution. You can see his quality in there, coming up with big moments. I mean, that free kick late on, helping 9-man Geylang to a point in that game, just brilliant. And again, I said his link up with Zuzul has been very good for Geylang so far towards this closing stages of the season.
Let's talk about a team who are also in that race for top four, but at the bottom of the race right now, Hougang United. They are away at Young Lions. Hougang come into this one after being beaten 4-1 by Tampines Rovers. Let's have a listen to what their head coach Clement Teo had to say after the game.
I mean, look, it's terrible to lose the game where you basically dominated the first 15-20 minutes. You created chances. It's just one of those days where the ball doesn't go in. But once they attack and they manage to score 2 goals, and it's naturally very heartbreaking. But overall, I think we were a little more disciplined in terms of not conceding more. We were going forward when the opportunity arrived. So this was something that we felt the boys have put in tremendous effort. There's nothing more I can ask for.
So Clement choosing to look at the positives of the game and saying what more can he ask from his boys. Roshan, is there anything you can ask more from this team?
Yes, I think there's a lot he can ask from this team, and I think this public face of his that he's putting out there is to try and be as positive as he can and trying to take the pressure off his players. He's trying something, but I mean, I think he will know as well privately. There's a lot that can be done better with this side. I mean, look, I don't expect him to come out and start hammering the players. That's how you lose the dressing room. I'm sure these are things that he'll deal with in private. But he himself in these interviews, whether it's pre-match or whether it's post-match, he kind of looks deflated and he kind of looks a little bit fatigued by it all. And they need that energy to come back into the side, into the club overall. I do feel for him because, you know, I think they are working hard to try and turn things around, but for one reason or another, it's not working. Whether the players are not responding to the methods or the players themselves are just not having the right sort of attitude going into this game. I mean, that's going into these games. It's something to have a chat about and a closer look at. I mean, I've been in this position before where there were issues at the club when I was at Home United, and there were issues behind the scenes that maybe weren't out in the public, but there was a lot of unhappiness. There were key players who weren't happy with the coach, who didn't want to play for the coach, for example, and then there were all those issues, and that can have a really big impact on the confidence overall at the club. And that, you know, the day in, day out, these kind of things happening, you know, again, I'm not sure if that's happening in the Hougang camp, day in, day out. From what we see on the outside, the likes of Kaishu Yamazaki, that would have been a big issue for them. He's obviously not going to be playing anymore and hasn't featured. So, look, I mean, you look at these players, and in some of the games, they're on top of the game one week, and the next week, they're right at the bottom. And you've got players making errors in matches, losing their concentration levels. To be fair to them, I thought in that match against Tampines, they actually started off really well and they had chances. They couldn't put their chances away, and then they got punished at the other end. I personally didn't feel like Nazim should have been sent off, but it was his own error that led to that. Again, these mistakes creeping into their game defensively. They've been a little bit all over the place, and I think as a team, at times, even before they went down to 10, there was a lot of space, there was a lot of gaps in those midfield areas and between the units in the side. So that's where the opposition were able to exploit those areas. It's not looking good for them, or it hasn't looked good for them, but I think the next two games, one coming up against the Young Lions and then against Balestier Khalsa at the end of the season, give them a really solid opportunity to end off on a little bit of a high note before they go into the cup competition. The cup competition is a chance for them to rescue their season a little bit if they can go on and pick up some silverware. But yeah, look, these two games, it's crucial, crunch time for Hougang, because if they end up finishing in 6th, it's a real complete disaster of a season.
Well, let's talk about the final game for this weekend. Tampines up against Albirex Niigata, two of the most informed teams at the moment in the league. And Albirex Niigata coming into this game after beating the Sailors and having won the SPL title. Yeah. Let's quickly talk about Albirex season. If you had to summarize the season, how would you summarize it?
How would I summarize it? That's always difficult one to sort of summarize it, because they've shown different aspects to just how good they've been, right? There have been times when they've really blown teams away with the quality that they've had. There have been times when they scored goals for fun and they've been really entertaining and exciting to watch. And then there have been other times when they haven't been as good, but still you admire the resilience and that willingness to fight and to dig deep and to show that mentality and to get the results, get themselves across the line in those matches. So they've shown different sides to what it takes to go on and win titles. I think the mental capacity, I think, has been probably, to me, the most impressive aspect, the mental fight. Remember at the start of the campaign when they had issues with pre-season and things like that, players coming in at different times in pre-season and it was disrupted. They lost the Community Shield, they lost the first game of the season. And for large parts of this campaign, they were in second place and they were chasing the Lion City Sailors. So that brings with it a different sort of pressure. But they rose to the occasion and they've been on a brilliant run of form, deserved winners, as we said. And you saw in the way that game against the Lion City Sailors, where at times they showed their great attacking quality, at times they had to suffer, they had to struggle, but they still pulled through and they came away with the big win in that one. So I think there might be a bit of a temptation here in this game against Tampines to just rotate, because there's a cup competition coming up, give maybe some of the fringe players an opportunity. But perhaps the one player who won't want to get himself out of the side is Tanaka.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because the interesting side story to this is the battle between Prois Kapitovic and Kodai Tanaka, both obviously leading the goal-scoring charts in the SPL. How do you see that race for the Golden Boot panning out?
This is going to be so exciting. Two players who have had such a good season in front of goal, and two players who have been so important for their respective sides. I mean, 31 goals each, and they're essentially, if Tanaka plays, they will come up against each other in a head-to-head battle, so to speak. And I think, now that Tanaka has helped Albirex Niigata to win the title, that's the one goal for him. That's the great, you can put a tick on that and say, job done. The next one is on a personal sort of goal, personal sort of target that you want to go out and try and say you ended the season as the SPL Golden Boot winner. So it will be a really good fight and one to keep an eye on. The only concern I have here is Tanaka seemed to, through his interpreter, seemed to say at the end of that game against Lion City Sailors that he has had a little bit of an ankle issue. I don't know if I'm misunderstanding this, if something was lost in translation. He looked really emotional, by the way, in that one. But he seemed to sort of imply that he's been playing with an ankle injury. And he seemed to be really proud of the fact that he was able to overcome that and help. That again speaks of the mentality in this Albirex Niigata side. So, I mean, you look at that, that's one to keep an eye on. But whether he plays is going to be key. But if he does, that should be a really nice battle, a really nice subplot in this game between two sides who play some really good football.
So that is our feature game of the week. Tampines Rovers up against Albirex Niigata. Coverage begins from 5 p.m. on Saturday. You can join Colette Wong and Roshan and Abhishek as they build up to kickoff. So that's all the time we have for this week's episode of SPL Express. Don't forget, you can catch all the Singapore Premier League games live on our YouTube channel. Till next time, goodbye.